How are we doing today, Iowa Craft Beer Tent? All right, can you hear me out there? Perfect. How many of you is this first time ever visiting the Iowa Craft Beer Tent? There's like 3 people over here. I love that answer. This has been an amazing fair. You guys have done a great job coming out and supporting Iowa Craft Beer. We started with 48 taps of Iowa beer. You've drained, if you've looked at the back side of the trailer, we've hung all the sold outs on the back. We're up to like our 60th beer now, I think, that we've rolled through the trailer. So it's been an amazing fair. The weather couldn't have been any better. Today, every day at 2 o'clock, we have a person come down and speak from one of the breweries. Today we're lucky enough to have Matt come all the way down from WestO, up in WestO Cabogie. Just opened up a couple months ago, and they're killing it up there, and they've got 2 beers back on the trailer. So with that, I'll give it to Matt. Here he is.
Thank you. Our head brewer's name is Carl Schmitz. He came down on Wednesday. He had something going on this weekend, so I'm going to speak on behalf of him and behalf of WestO Beer. You'd know the difference. He's 6'5", I'm 5'6". I've got a short, scruffy beard. His is really long and full. You'd know the difference. Has anybody ever heard of WestO Beer? Woo! Before this week? Woo! We opened Memorial Day weekend. We planned for about 6 years. Finally, we're able to start construction in September of last year, built through the winter, and barely completed the project, and we're able to open Memorial Day weekend. So it's been 12 weeks today. So we're really new. The brewery's going well. We're in WestO Cabogie. If you're familiar with the lakes area, it's the southern end of WestO Cabogie Lake, half-mile south of the Taco House, if you're real familiar with Okoboji. Things have been going well. We have 5 beers. We have 2 of our beers on tap here this week, our Smoked Red and our Pilsner Lager. Smoked Red by far, not by far, but there's a pretty good margin there. That's our best seller if you haven't tried that. But both of those are our top 2 sellers right now. My wife and I live in Spencer, which is just south of Okoboji. We chose to build the brewery in WestO Cabogie for a lot of reasons. A little bit easier to market. The lot that we chose in WestO Cabogie is serviced with water from West Lake Okoboji. If you know anything about Lake Okoboji, WestO Cabogie Lake, it's spring-fed, which means the water is naturally soft, which is really good for brewing beer. So that was one of the major reasons why we chose to build the brewery where we did. A lot of breweries have to treat their water. It's really expensive to soften water. We don't have to do that. It's not very expensive to harden it. So the intro beers that we're starting with, the 5 beers that you'll find in our tasting room at the brewery, are kind of centered around that water that we don't have to treat. We leave it soft, we leave it exactly the way it is. It's carbon filtered twice, once through the city, and then once when it comes into the brewery. So we're really proud of our water. We've actually started a small program. It's on our website. We're talking about it at the brewery and Okoboji, called WestO Naturally, where we take a portion of our proceeds and give it back to the community to help improve and protect the natural resources of the Iowa Great Lakes region. So hopefully Carl can get here next year. We'll try to make it a point. He had a conflict. I want to talk a little bit about him. I feel like we've stolen a young brewer early in his career. He started brewing, he brewed for 6 years at Cold Spring Brewing Company in Minnesota, right by St. Cloud. He started in February for us, and so far has done a phenomenal job. He's 26 years old to start. He's a young guy. He's coming to a new brewery. He's got new equipment, a new environment, new ingredients, new recipes, new everything. Brewing beer is difficult. Brewing beer good beer and consistently good beer is even harder. So what he's been able to do in the first, couple of months of our brewery is phenomenal. I don't know how else to put it. The input that we've gotten back from people over the last couple of months has just been great. I couldn't be more happy with Carl or the beer that he's brewing. I also want to mention something about craft beer in Iowa. It seems like we're almost surrounded in the state of Iowa by states that have made a name for themselves through craft beer, through small breweries, medium-sized breweries. And Iowa's never really been known for its craft beer. We've never really had a particular beer or a particular brewery that has really stood out. And so I think that's about to change. The market is right. We've got a lot of really good breweries in this state. A lot of them have been around for a while. Some of them, like ourselves, have just started up. Above our tap handles, WestO Beer tap handles, we have on our sign says, "We just raised the bar about 10 notches in West Okoboji." That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do with the quality of our beer. We want, with the rest of the breweries in Iowa, to raise that bar together. We want all the breweries to raise that bar. We need all of your help. Most of you are craft beer fans. I'm sure there's some people here that are a domestic light beer drinker, but you're here because there's good cold local beer and you're giving it a shot. So we appreciate that, but we need everybody's help to spread the word, raise awareness, push your local breweries for quality, consistency, ingenuity, create better beer, and we will have Iowa on that list of states, especially in the Midwest, that stand out for their craft beer, I'm sure. I want to thank the Iowa Craft Beer Tent for putting this all together. It's things like this that they set the stage for us. They go across the state and help us serve beer to you guys so that everybody can try a new craft beer. So I want to say thank you to them. Cheers to Iowa Craft Beer, and cheers to local beer. Thank you. Supposed to, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, or I can answer anything that anybody's got. I've got some coasters or some koozies up here. To see if I can get anybody to answer a question, ask a good question. Are there any questions? I'll even field a brewer question if I can. I'll try to. I just got a question from the back of the stage. He asked how we make our beer. It's a long process. There's a lot of steps involved, but primarily, to brew beer, you've got to start with sugar. To get any alcohol, you've got to start with sugar. In beer, we use almost primarily malted barley. It's loaded with starch. We extract all that sugar. We take all that sugar solution, add it to our boil kettle, add hops. These vines that are growing on the side of the tent here on both sides are hop vines, the small green flower. We add those hops for bitterness in the beer, for flavor, aroma. And then we're left with that wort, W-O-R-T, that sugar solution with our hops that we boiled. And we let that sit in a fermenter for a couple of weeks. Depending on the beer style, it might take longer. We add beer yeast that consumes all that sugar in that tank, and it creates alcohol, carbon dioxide, and other beer flavor byproducts. In a nutshell. Yes, you in the cowboy hat. We buy most of our grain from Brewers Supply Group, who buys the grains from farmers in the industry. They're kind of the wholesaler, and we buy all our grains through them. We get all of our hops through, most of our hops through a company called Indie Hops in Portland, Oregon. Yes. My wife and I grew up in western Iowa. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Ricketts, Iowa. About 100 people. It's down kind of by Denison, Schleswig area, west central Iowa, Crawford County. My wife and I both grew up in that area and now live in Spencer, which is just south of Okoboji. We love Iowa, that's why we're here. We love Okoboji, we love beer. We aren't going to have any beers entered in the Great American Beer Fest. But there's a few of us that are making the trek out there. Another good question. Our 5 beers, we have the Pilsner Lager, the Smoked Red on tap here. We also have a German wheat beer, a Hefeweizen at the brewery for our summer seasonal. We have a Pale Ale and a Double IPA, which is kind of our big hoppy beer at the brewery. And we just brewed an Oktoberfest for the fall. That'll be on tap at the brewery in about 3, maybe 4 weeks. My favorite beer? My wife would tell you that I like all beer, but I think my favorite style is probably a pale ale, or somewhere between a pale ale and an India Pale Ale. I like something moderately hoppy, moderately bitter, relatively strong. Another good question, and I'm out of koozies. We're going to start bottling hopefully by the end of September. Right now we're only brewing about 450 gallons a week, so we're only in the Okoboji area. We're in 7 or 8 restaurants and bars up there. We are in El Bait Shop in Des Moines. That's one place where we are on tap down here. Our Smoked Red's on tap. I might have forgotten the question. Yeah, so our bottles are going to start probably in about 3 or 4 weeks. So we're hoping we'll have a limited run of bottles, and then we're talking about an expansion for the spring. We're going to get 3 more larger tanks in so we can start reaching most of northwest Iowa and a few other places down this way. I'm going to be serving beer back there for a while, and I'm going to be drinking one too. If anybody has any other questions, I'll be over there. Feel free to stop by. Please try WestO Beer.